Hey, Bob. Good to see you. It's too much light, I think. Probably better. I don't know. Oh, I could. Is this? What are my options? Studio light, reactions. Oh, I could do the. I don't know. Oh, there it goes. I can turn that off. Studio light. It's better. Yeah. It's better on than off. I don't know. The portrait doesn't really work because it blurs out the fretboard. See, if I have my hand over here, the background, yeah, I can choose money backgrounds. It's like, where is that? Where is it? Here we go. Yeah, well, that's kind of where I was. Yeah, not. I need more options here. What the heck? I'm in prison. Oh, I'm at Apple headquarters. That looks like the Apple building, and yeah, that just looks like I'm playing a really weird guitar. So I think we'll get rid of the background. We don't need that. All right. That's a fake background anyway, right? I could turn off that light behind me. That probably wouldn't help. Let's see. Boop. Good morning. Human time or AI time? Yeah, exactly. Good question. Yeah, we were in Ireland for 2 weeks. That's where I was. I didn't say anything because I don't really like to broadcast that I'm going to be out of town. We had people staying at the house like we normally do. I mean, so many young people, that live in small little apartments kind of appreciate the opportunity to live in a bigger place for a minute. So we have a nice backyard and pool and jacuzzi and all that stuff. So although I told them not to use the jacuzzi just because right now it's kind of requires like a lot of machinations. And I had someone use a jacuzzi once and they left the heater on for a week. And forgot to turn it off. Now, the thing was, when the pump is off, the heater automatically turns off. And it should just stay off, but the problem was, once the pump kicked back on, the heater kicked back on. So I was heating the jacuzzi for a whole week when I got back. In fact, even a few days after I got back, because I had no idea it was doing it, until we were like sitting there, and I think it was like a hot day or something, and we opened the windows, and it was nighttime when I run the pump, and all of a sudden I hear it sounds like a jet engine when my heater, because it's like 60,000 BTU. So it sounds like a jet engine when it initially kicks on. And I was like, oh no. It was like a $400 gas bill. I was like, oh gee. So anyway, so I kind of say no to the jacuzzi. It's hot here anyway. Who wants a jacuzzi when it's 90 degrees? Makes no sense. Hey, Jan. I wish I'd seen some more music when I was in Ireland. There's a lot of music. A lot of music. We were in Dublin. We kind of went all over. We drove all over. I can talk about that. We're just going to catch up. Thank you, Holly. So there's a famous busking street, and the term busker I didn't know until just a couple of years ago. I just called it street musician. I didn't know there was a name for it. I think it's a very British name. But the street musicians all over the street, I can't remember the name of the street, but it's kind of where Ed Sheeran got his start. So everybody's out there trying to be the next Ed Sheeran, right? And I've seen this from record companies from the from the 60s. Probably goes back before that. But when the Beatles hit it big, every British band, every Mercy Beat band, from Liverpool and London, they all got signed. They all got record deals, and some of them had a hit, one maybe. And so that was the case. Like when Nirvana hit big, the record companies went up to Seattle and signed all of those grunge rock bands, and some of them were very good, like Pearl Jam, Hole. Yeah, pretty good, I guess. There were a lot of Soundgarden. A lot of great bands that came out of that, but there are also a lot of bad bands that should never have gotten signed. They got deals because of the popularity of Nirvana. So same thing kind of happened with bands like Styx in Chicago, and all of a sudden, REO Speedway can get signed, and other bands. So in some ways, it can be a good thing, but it's kind of the record companies doing that thing. So same thing when Justin Bieber got signed. He got discovered on YouTube. He was like the first kid that was discovered on YouTube. And record companies were signing all these kids that were getting millions and millions of views on YouTube, and nothing ever happened with any of them. I remember, was his name Grayson something? And I saw him I was working with Justin at the record plant in Hollywood, and Grayson was in the other studio recording, and they were writing songs for him and getting ready to record, and I don't know if that record maybe came out, but nothing ever happened with it. I don't know. He may be playing out there somewhere, but yeah. So there were a lot of buskers out there on that street, and pubs have music. A lot of the pubs had music. Of course, when we were in Dublin the first 2 nights, we were just arrived, so by 9 at night we were done. Although the first night we were there, we did a literary pub crawl, because there's a lot of great. A lot of great authors, James Joyce among them, from Dublin, and so we went on this, basically with this actor took us around, us and a group of people took us around from one pub to another pub, and acting out scenes from books and plays and stuff like that. So I'm telling stories about Ireland and Dublin and all sorts of. It was great. But by the end, we were so tired, and we only had one Guinness between us. It wasn't like we'd been drinking at every pub we stopped at. There's no way we could do that. So, and we had to walk back. So, but some of the pubs, the music would start at 8 or so, and so that was the first night. The second day we were there, we just spent 2 nights in Dublin, so we only had one full day. And then and that second night we went to dinner. Actually, funny thing, we went and got sushi. At that point, we'd already eaten at 2 pubs. We'd already had fish and chips. I'd already gotten a burger somewhere, and I was like, it was Friday night, or normally on Friday I don't know what it was. But we get sushi a lot, and so I was like, it sounded good, and this place was really good. And then after that, we went to a pub called it was a chain, but this pub was called Tom's Pub. Insanely loud, so many people in there, all young guys, all yelling and screaming and shouting and stuff. And we got a Guinness there. The Guinness in Dublin is on another level. And I got a pint. Beth got a half pint, and then we got this Bailey's cheesecake. It was the best cheesecake I've ever had. It was so good, and I spent the rest of the vacation trying to find it. Where can we get this Bailey's cheesecake? But we couldn't find it anywhere. But then we're walking home from that after having dinner and then going to the pub. We're walking back to our hotel, which all of this was very close to our hotel, like 3 blocks away or something. And Beth hears music, and I went, "Oh, that's right, there's music, so cool." And it was like we walked over there, and we walked into this pub, and there's these 4 young kids playing, I wouldn't call it Celtic music, I would call it jigs, like Irish jigs kind of stuff. But they were all playing their last song. It was great, and it was the only time the whole 2 weeks that we saw that kind of music that I really wanted to see, and there was two fiddle players, a pipe, a flute player, and a guitar player. And they all had pickups, and the amp was under the table, and people were just watching and drinking, and there was a big dog there, in the bar, and it just was awesome. It's a great vibe. If you ever had anything like this in Los Angeles, there would be a line around the block. I don't think it could exist, though. It wouldn't stay that way. But yeah, so it was great, and I was hoping that we'd see a lot more of that. Of course, we were heading out to the coastal towns, so you never know. But yeah, Yeah, the jig was up when they played that last song. Yeah, Irish sushi, no, it was legit Japanese sushi. Everyone working there was Japanese at the sushi restaurant, which is not like my sushi restaurant here. Everyone that works at this one is pretty much Korean, so which is totally fine. It's good sushi. In fact, I'm jonesing for it now. I may have to get sushi later. I don't know. But and then so the 2 days in Dublin, the 2 nights in Dublin, we didn't have a car. But the only way to get around to Ireland is drive, and I've never driven in Europe, and I've never driven on the left-hand side, and sat on the right-hand side of the car. And I kind of was stressing about it for, I told you guys, and no, I didn't tell you, because I didn't tell you that we were going out of town. But I was kind of stressing about the driving on the other side of the story. Tell a story about Omer. Oh wait. Omer Fetty? I don't even know. I've met Omer, but I don't know if that's who you're talking about. But, whoops. Maybe I missed your first text here. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up on the. Anyway, excuse me. So here's my thinking. Okay, so we Ubered out to a enterprise rent-a-car place that was out in the suburbs of Dublin, on the side of Dublin where our first hotel was. And I booked everything. Like, I thought about everything. I thought about every step. I measured distances. I did, looked at the roads to see how far it was and everything. So the first drive was only like a little over an hour from the Enterprise place to our first hotel, which was right near the Rock of Cashel. And so we got to see the Rock of Cashel, which was amazing, beautiful, up on a hill. This old castle that had been fallen down, a cathedral, things like that. It's a beautiful, beautiful site. And it's pretty much one of the few ancient sites we went to. We were more in Ireland to not sightsee as much as just experience. So some of the classic things like the Cliffs of Moher and things like that, we did not do, and there's reasons for that. But we, so I got the rent-a-car in the suburbs so I wouldn't have to drive in the city. And I'll be darned if about 10 seconds after I got in that car, it felt completely natural to be on the left side of the road. Totally natural. There are roundabouts everywhere, which, once you understand them, they actually make a huge amount of sense. They actually had roundabouts on the highway. And you think about a roundabout, and it was a big roundabout, and there's a road, maybe not even a very busy road, but a fairly busy road. If they could just build a roundabout instead of building a bridge and 4 clover leaves or 4, and the bridges never, even if they had an exit, it would be two roundabouts at the top on either side of the bridge. So the exits would be like that. And so we drove basically right to the hotel. The only thing that the first day of driving, exiting the roundabouts, I tended to clip the curb. They didn't have big curbs like they do in Pasadena. I say Pasadena is Spanish for high curb, because everybody opens a door and the door hits the curb. It's like, oh shoot, how do I get out of my car? And it's because Pasadena is kind of built on a hill, and it's to channel the water down the hill instead of into your house. But the curbs were maybe like that. They weren't that bad. And here's the thing. I ordered a mid-sized car because I wanted a trunk, because I didn't know if we'd be able to go right into our hotels, right? Because check-in times versus, and I didn't, I just didn't want our suitcases messed with. So I wanted to have a trunk. And all the small cars, they just had hatchbacks. So I wanted a mid-size with a trunk. Well, I get there and we upgraded you. Congratulations. We gave you an SUV and a RAV4. So I'm driving this giant RAV4, and bigger than my car, sitting up high, which is not a bad thing. That actually probably was a benefit. But it was a hatchback, so it ultimately didn't matter, because every single hotel let us check in early. We booked a lot of, we were in a lot of hotels. So The first hotel we stayed at outside of Dublin it was in Horse and Jockey. That's the name of the town. And there's not much there but the hotel. And it's just about 8 kilometers north of Rock of Cashel. So we checked in our hotel, dropped off our bags, and then drove down to Rock of Cashel. And that was a kind of a medieval village. So driving around that was a bit of a challenge, finding a parking space, not hitting people, clipping curbs, all that stuff. And then we went back to the hotel, and that was the only time I drove on the wrong side of the road when we were pulling into the hotel. And Google took us back on country roads instead of the main highway, which kind of drove me crazy because it's like Google's always trying to the shortest distance, and I'm like, no, I want to be on the main highway because it's just easier to drive on that. Those little country roads have no shoulder. You're basically the edge of your left tire is on the edge of the road because you got cars and trucks and buses coming right at you, and they're just like inches from you when you're driving on this. And so that was a little crazy. And I'm blind in my left eye, so seeing the left side of the car, Beth was like, "Ooh, you're getting close," kind of thing, because I couldn't see at all the left side of the car. In fact, the rearview mirror was difficult to see, to look at, because I was having to turn my head this way, and because this eye is blind, so I'd have to turn my head. So it was definitely a challenge. But I turned right into the hotel, the road right next to the hotel, and turning right obviously is just like turning left here in the States. You got to cross a lane, and I did that. I'm looking all directions, 900 directions, making sure we're clear. I'm clear, and I pull into the right. Pull into the right lane. I was just went on autopilot at that moment, and there's a car coming right at me, and Beth goes, wrong lane, wrong lane. She's trying not to yell at me, and I go, oh shoot, and I get over, and then we pull in, and I probably clipped the curb and pulled into the hotel. And that was the last time I clipped a curb. The other thing I did wrong, so when you're in a roundabout, you only yield to the cars on your right. You don't yield to the cars on your left. And we came to this roundabout, and the cars in my direction and the oncoming, everybody, myself included, wanted to go this way. So they're all doing their turn into that, and I pull into kind of the roundabout, and I stop. And let them, or no, I don't pull into the roundabout because I'm letting them go, but it's a long line of cars. And there's a pile of cars piling up behind me because I'm just supposed to go and they're supposed to yield to me, and then I get to go down the road. I forgot that. I knew that, but I forgot it. And God bless them, I didn't get honked at once the whole 2 weeks in Ireland. Not once. So that was, and then we went down to Kinsale, which was gorgeous. I could spend a week in Kinsale, which is just south of Cork. It's on the ocean, basically. There's a marina, there's a fort up there, there's beautiful walks. I mean, we got the best seafood I've ever had was there. So we were there for 2 nights. We stayed at a very ritzy hotel that had breakfast. It was like living with Queen Victoria or something. It was very nice. And again, we've never done this. We've always, and this trip was more expensive than any one we've ever done before, but we normally would stay in one place, either one hotel or one Airbnb. Like when we were in Edinburgh, we rented an Airbnb, and it was okay. It was a little grotty, I probably should have upgraded, spent a little bit more, got a better place, but you can't tell. The pictures make it look great, and then you get there and you're like, wow, and the ceiling was leaking, and it was okay. And that was Edinburgh 2 years ago. But we didn't drive. I don't know if I wished I'd driven, but the best way to see Scotland is to drive, obviously. So where we were going, there were no trains. So we couldn't have taken trains anywhere we were going except for basically Galway. And that was one of our last stops. So we went by Tipperary. Yep. We drove by Tipperary. That was on the way to Kinsale, which is, again, we went to Cork, and that was, I did get off and exit too soon, and we had to get redirected and drive all over Kingdom Come to get back on the path. And then the road to Kinsale was one of those. It was about 30 minutes on one of these roads where like the oncoming traffic is just coming at you, and then a biker is there, and so we're all backed up on a biker, like 20 cars. And he's pedaling uphill, barely going 5 miles an hour, and we're waiting for clearance so we can get around him, Like, because a lot of the roads are just turning like this. You can't go around anybody. If there's a blind curve, so you just have to wait. I mean, if I was a biker, I would never do that. It seemed so dangerous. I guess I would pull over, but then I guess I would be constantly pulling over. You lose your inertia every time you pull over, but it's like, you know, there was one time where we pulled around a biker and he caught up to us because it was downhill after that. But, you know, it's just, but anyway, so Kinsale, the hotel came with breakfast and a parking space, and they literally had a parking space blocked off for me, and that was awesome. The hotel in Kinsale was the Periville. You can look it up. It's very expensive. I think you get better deals off season, but Periville in Kinsale. And like I said, I could spend if we did a week in Kinsale, you can fly into Cork. Cork's a pretty big airport. I think Cork is the second largest city in Dublin, but we never went there. We went to Galway, but not Cork. And we didn't go to Killarney. We drove through Killarney or around Killarney, but we didn't go into Killarney, which is another big city. We didn't do the Ring of Kerry drive. The first few days, I was pretty stressed out about the driving. In fact, one night I didn't get any sleep because I was stressing, and I was kind of mapping out the next drive to see if I was trying to figure out a way to get Google to stop cutting corners and sending me on these country roads. Some of the country roads, going to Dingle, when we went from Kinsale to Dingle, which was a long drive, about 3 hours, we went on this road that was one lane and oncoming traffic. And it's like, so you're constantly, every time you passed a driveway or a little cutout that was maybe this wide, but there was two, so it was one on either side. It's about as wide as, maybe 4 feet on either side, maybe 3 feet. Every time you passed one of those, you made a mental note because you might have to stop and back up to one of those. It was insane. And I'm like, Google, would you stop doing it? Like, there's these two roads. I want to take this big road to this big road. And then Google would say, oh, we're going to save the planet and take you this way. And I'm like, we're not saving anything. So it was, I figured out how to, okay, the trick was to go to Chat GPT, tell them where you want to go. I said, Chat, take me from point A to point B. I want to stay on main roads, even if it means going out of the way, because the country roads are stressing me out. And Chat goes, I totally understand being stressed out by those tiny little country roads. Like, oh my gosh. And then gives me a map that I can open in Google Maps and save, and then use that. And so that was a trick. And here's the thing. We're debriefing now. Would we ever do that again? Because it was stressful. I'm on vacation. It should be relaxing, right? Eventually, though, I learned that it all works. Those one-lane roads. There were times where I came around a corner or I came up on someone and they had already pulled over and they were letting me go, and I waved and flagged, said, hey, thank you. And there were times I did it for them. And the last day, we were on this little road, and every time you have a clear shot, like you can see far and there's nobody coming, you gun it because you want to get those kilometers behind you, right? And then, so this one time I'm kind of coming up on this blind curve. We're heading home, heading back to Dublin. And I come around the corner, and staring me in the face is a full-on semi, like the biggest semi you would see on the freeway. And I chalk it up, and it's all gravel. And so and then I back into this place. The truck drives by me, misses me by this much, and it gives me the thumbs up, thank you, and then I go on my way. I mean, it was crazy, but it works, and I feel like, here's the best way I can explain it. I feel like I unlocked a level on a video game. Like, I unlocked a new skill. So now, if we did that again and we go, okay, we're going to do Southern England, because I want to do Cornwall and I want to do that, and it's going to be very similar type driving. There'll be some big roads and there'll be some teeny tiny roads, because the best little places to go are on the tiny roads. And Dingle was a perfect example of that, and Kinsale was also. There's no major road or train or anything going to Dingle or Kinsale. And so, sorry, I'm giving you all an update. It has nothing to do with guitar. I didn't play guitar for 2 weeks, practically, at all. I got interviewed in Galway by a guy, but I was playing guitar while we were talking, but for a movie. But that was just spontaneous. That just happened. That wasn't scheduled. Um, but now when I think about doing another trip like this, I won't be stressing about it beforehand, because I was stressing for 3 months while we're doing. I'm like, is this a mistake? I just was like, we better do this before we get any older, because I'm not going to be 75 and driving on the left-hand side for the first time, right? But like I said, within the first minute, it felt completely natural, because you're already on the right-hand side. Also, if somebody asked, I did not get I got an automatic. I don't even know how to drive stick here. I never learned to stick. Somebody was like, why did you never learn to drive a stick? And I'm like, when am I going to do that? Well, when you drive your car. I'm like, think about it. 5, 4. What do I do for a living? Do you know any station wagons that have stick shifts? I've never seen a station wagon with a stick shift. My mom's station wagon didn't have a stick shift. Our Volvo wagon didn't have a stick shift. If I by chance gotten rich and famous as a guitar player when I was young, oh yeah, I would have had a Porsche or something like that. Maybe I probably would have died driving one. But yeah, I've never ever driven a stick. So you have to really specify if you're going to go to Europe and you want to drive these. If it's going to be new for you. Oh, you have, but they're from the 70s. Yeah, I mean, my first car was a 72 station wagon. Your Volvo wagon had a stick. That's crazy. Yeah, I've never. I mean, yeah, I've never done a clutch. I have no desire to. I'm not a car guy. I could care less. It gets me from point A to point B. I want to. Well, and that's I think I love about the automatic, the automated cars and all that. I'm like, to me, that's the dream. I'll sit in the back seat and practice guitar or read a newspaper or something. Let my car drive me to wherever I need to go. Especially in LA when everything's 45 minutes away, even if it's 5 minutes away. And to be honest, the LA traffic, coming back, coming back from the airport, we're just like, well, this feels right. This is even on the 405, the busiest freeway in the world. We're just like, well, this feels right. So that's crazy. So had no idea. I've never seen a station wagon with a stick shift, but I guess I have probably. I mean, all cars used to be stick for the most part, right? So sorry, I need to do some shout outs. Christopher, Bob, I said hi to you right away. Holly, I said hi. Sadie, good to see you. Sorry, this is kind of a. Let's see if I can grab a photo or two. So then we went to Dingle, and Dingle was crazy. So the only reason we went to Dingle, which was kind of way off the beaten path, and had we not gone to Dingle, we might have done the Kerry drive, but the Ring of Kerry is about a 5-hour drive with no stops, and they tell you to go to do it clockwise because the buses are mandated to go counterclockwise. So the tour buses are going counterclockwise, and if you go counterclockwise, you're going to be sitting behind a tour bus. You won't be able to see anything. In my head, though, I thought, well, I'd rather be behind a tour bus than have one coming at me on these little teeny roads. So I'll tell you what, though, I got the full insurance on the car, so we could have totally Thelma and Louised it and put a brick on the accelerator and drove it off the cliffs of Moore at the end of the rental, and we would have been fine. But I returned it, and the girl at Enterprise, she walked around the car and she came back and she goes, "No nicks, nothing." I didn't nick it at all. It was a miracle. So I was going to use my credit card insurance, but the credit card insurance excludes Ireland, Israel, Jamaica, and somewhere else. I forget which, maybe Scotland, where you have these super narrow roads. So let me see. All right, so let's see if Dropbox grabbed my photos. Camera uploads. Doesn't look like it. These are all old, so no. That's okay. I probably need to tell it to do it. So that's what I'll do right now on my phone. And I can email myself a picture or something like that and just drag it in here. Yeah, so I'll play the that pub that in Dublin where we sell the live music, and there were a lot of buskers, and I brought a bunch of fives, so I got a stack of fives. I was making it rain for the buskers. Anytime I saw a busker, I gave him a five, which was a lot. Most people were giving them change, 50 cents or $1. So I had a stack of fives that I was handing out to every busker I saw, and they appreciated that. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Can't really see the screen, but so there was a big dog next to me, so you'll see the big dog in a second. Where's the big dog? I'm petting him right now. There he is. Whoa, big dog. Whoa, big sad face. So that was all the music, all the traditional, I would call it traditional Irish music, not Celtic music. Celtic is always 6/8. To me, I always think of Celtic as being 6/8. It's very Celtic. It's very bluegrass adjacent. Oh goodness, man. Mm-hmm. And so it is just, ever since I got back, I've been non-frickin' stop working. I never got hit up once. I sent emails to all my composers saying I'm out of town. I'm out of town. Like I said, I always do it 3 months in advance, 2 months in advance, 1 month in advance. For two purposes. One, to kind of drum up work and make sure they get me work before I head out of town, so I don't leave them in the lurch. You know, if it makes them prioritize a certain thing that needs me on it, then they get it to me. That works out. The other thing is just to remind them I exist. So I'm even emailing people I maybe haven't worked for in a year or 2 or 3 or 4, and just letting them know, hey, you know, just so you know, if you need me for something, blah blah blah. And that always generates work. It's just a good business practice. People, you know, I mean, everyone I work for digs my chili, so I'm not really hurting for work. What is this? What is this over here? Oh, okay. I mean, I'm always not. I don't want to say I'm not hurting for work. There's times where, you know, I say I'll retire when the phone stops ringing. And a couple months ago, I was like, am I retired? And it was pretty slow before we went to Ireland, but then the week before it got really busy, and it was good for two things. It gave me some money some spending money, but the other thing was that it made me feel like I deserved a vacation because my job is not generally very stressful. And so I'm, you know, I don't need to lay on the beach for a week. It's not that kind of job. I actually want to go out and do stuff because I'm sitting in here all day long. So for me, this trip was kind of perfect, except the driving thing. And now that I've done it, like I said, I feel like I've unlocked, you know, level unlocked. So during long commutes, I like automatic. Yeah. My Mercedes has paddle shifters. Oh, so it does both. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. You know what? My Volvo, I think I can. Yeah, paddle shifters. I think of paddle shifters as being a foot thing. Like pedals. You know, paddle. But I can actually go into automatic mode on my Volvo. I think if I want to shift the gears myself, it's like this. It goes over in a position and I can do this, you know, move it back and forth. So to go up or down, but I always thought that was just for getting out of snow or something, you know, not really for driving anywhere in the city or whatever. So I grew up driving manual vehicles, all sorts. Oh, yeah, daughter of Gearhead. He bequeathed me. Yeah. Oh, it's 99 Mazda. Oh, that's cool. Oh, the pickup. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I should go and do a lesson on a stick or something, right? I don't know. That would be another level unlocked. I just don't see how I would use it and I would lose it. That's kind of what I say about a lot of guitar stuff. Like if you don't practice, like people ask me all the time, should I learn to read music? Okay, here's a guitar lesson. Should I learn to read music? Well, are you going to use it? If you're not going to use it, you probably, it's just better to learn a bunch of songs and learn to write songs and learn to improvise and to learn to figure stuff out. And, you know, tab is fine. Tab is pretty easy. Music is better in a lot of ways than tab, but tab is better in some things, music, than music. But the music, see, I'm literally just, the reason I was late to the live stream is because I was recording acoustics. That's why I got the 1924 Martin out. I was recording acoustics, and and I had my phone muted. So the reminders I get at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock to go live, I never heard them, and so. Yeah, it's a beautiful guitar. This thing is it's an 028 Alcoa. It was not a slack key guitar. It's always been a guitar. It's even got, like, it doesn't have Martin on the headstock. It's on the back. That's how old it is. You can't see it, but yeah. It was destroyed. Somebody crashed it and it got put back together. So I'm pretty ginger with it. When I put it away, I tune it down a little bit, a half step. Right now it's in standard and it's holding it fine. But you can see rumor has it belonged to Stephen Stills at one point, but he doesn't. It had no provenance, so I didn't pay any extra for that. I was looking for a slot head acoustic, and I was playing, these $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. My budget was like $10,000, and I was playing all these Collins and all these beautiful slot heads, and the store had this one, and it was only $4,000. I mean, $4,000 is a lot, I know. For some of you young guitar players, it's like, wait, 4,000. Yeah, and that's the most I ever spent on a guitar to this day. And I know, I'm famous for the $99 Squires. Heck, I got $50 Squires. But yeah. Well, that's good to know, Michael. Thank you, Michael Markham. Good to see you, by the way. Are you new today? Is this? Or is this a new handle? Yeah, we didn't see any Irish dancing. We didn't go to any shows when we were there. Again, we were in small towns for the most part. So after Dingle, we went up to Galway. But even at Galway, so again, I'm mapping this all out, right? And I saw Dingle to Galway was a long drive. And we actually went past Galway, and we were staying at this Connemara beach resort. Well, no, it was not a beach resort, coast resort. There's no beach. It's just rocks. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. Okay, hold on. I pulled up my phone to do something, and I can't answer that. I can see your message though. Okay. Okay. So, if I open on my phone, if I open the Dropbox app, I think I can upload all my photos. Where is it? Here it is. Let's see. Yep, that's right. Okay. Upload. Close. Is there a button that I have to hit? Sorry. Oh, camera uploads off. Okay. Turn on camera uploads and let it do its thing. All right. All right. So I'm gonna let it do its thing, and it'll start uploading. Um, it was not a long way to Tipperary. We went past it. Kind of. There was an exit for it going from Cashel down to Kinsale, which was south of Cork. So Ireland's like this. We started in Dublin. We went down to Horse and Jockey, then down to Kinsale. Then over here was Dingle. And here's the Ring of Kerry. We didn't do that drive. Everybody, oh, you got to do the Ring of Kerry. There were a lot of things people said we got to do. I don't got to do. I don't got to kiss a Blarney Stone. I'm not going to Cork just to stand in line to kiss a stone. Ain't going to happen. I don't care. And then we went up to, so that was a bit of a drive to get to. In fact, the Cliffs of Moher were here. We didn't do that. Glad we didn't do it, because the day we did it, I talked to people that were there, and they said they couldn't see a thing. They drove an hour on back roads to get to it and an hour back with buses all over the place. It was too foggy to see. So I'm so glad we didn't do that. So we ended up, so we go to Galway, past Galway, we go to this Connemara coastal resort or whatever. And it was nice. It was crowded because it was open to you could be a member of the gym and the pools, and they have pools and jacuzzis and a dry sauna and a wet sauna and all that stuff. So you could do all that. It had a jacuzzi outdoors, but it was always full, and we didn't want to hang out there. So we did a little bit of that, a little bit of swimming there, but not in the ocean. Never. That was one thing that I kind of wanted to do, was cold plunge, but we couldn't find a place. There are these. The one time we found a place like this, we were walking and we were on a big hike in Kinsale, and there was a place where you could get in, and there was somebody there in the water, and the water was cold, but not that cold. It wasn't any colder than LA beaches, so it would have been 60 something. And then there was a mobile dry sauna there, so you could get into that, warm up. Well, when we cold plunge, we don't warm up afterwards. I mean, you can get dressed, but we don't generally. You don't take a hot shower. You don't put electric blanket on you. You let your body regulate back up. That's kind of the whole point. So we cold plunge in the winter, and because the pool's cold enough. But yeah, and that's mainly for inflammation, increase the white blood cell count. It's good for focus, helps you sleep. I mean, there's so many reasons to cold plunge. You can take a cold shower, you get the same benefit from a cold shower. For me, that's harder. Cold plunging is more immediate. Cold shower is like, oh my, you got to make this decision. You still have to make the decision. That's one of the other benefits of cold plunging. They said it's good for self-control or self-discipline. And it is totally true. And you go in with fear and loathing, and you come out fearless, like you can conquer the world. And we'll sit in there for 5 minutes. We do literally, 5 full minutes of sitting up to our necks. I have to get my neck under it because it helps I have pinched nerves in my neck, and so it helps contract and expand and contract my neck bones. So that helps with mitigating any of that kind of thing. So Joseph, what's going on? I did not know that Hulk Hogan was a session musician in the 70s. That's crazy. He claimed he almost joined Metallica. Well, that makes some sense, though, that he and Lars were friends. I'll have to. There needs to be a movie about him. There should be a movie about Hulk Hogan. Maybe there already is. I don't even know. Yeah, 4K is a lot, cacophonous, but it's how I pay my bills. I wouldn't even want to know how much a mechanic spends on tools. It's probably in the $100,000 range. I probably am close-ish to that in total when I add up all of my instruments. Maybe that's about what my insurance policy is. And you have to pay for that. Every year I have to write a big check to the insurance company. But again, it's part of my business. Now, when I die, all my guitars will go to Alex. He's already making room for him. So then we were at this Connemara thing for a couple nights. So again, I did 2 nights in Dublin, one in Town and Country, 2 nights in Cashel, 1 night in Dingle, 2 nights at the Connemara thing. So I kind of was wanting to have days where I'm not driving because I knew in advance that it would be stressful, and it was, again, it got less and less stressful as I got more and more experience. And by the end of the trip, and in debriefing on it now, in the middle of the trip, I said, we're never doing this again. By the end of the trip, I'm like, you know what? I mean, for one thing, I was smart to rent and return the car in the suburbs outside of Dublin, so I didn't have to drive in Dublin anywhere. Not that big of a city. You can walk across it, no problem. But we didn't, it was just, that removed some stress. I wouldn't want to drive a car in Paris or London or in Rome, God forbid. Or even Barcelona. I don't think I would want to drive a car in Barcelona. So I don't think Edinburgh would have been a problem. Oh, and I wouldn't want to drive a car in I mean, you're way outnumbered in Amsterdam. We went to Amsterdam, it was 20-1 bikes to cars. And I was like, bikes were driving like maniacs in Amsterdam when we went. They were just driving like crazy, and it's raining, and they're just going around corners, like leaning into corners. I'm like, how do they not skid out? And the cars, all the car drivers were like driving like this, like grannies. And we have friends that are attorneys there, and we had dinner with them. And I said, "Dang, what is it with the bikes? Like the bikes are crazy." They go, "Well, if there's a bike car accident, regardless of whose fault it is, it's always the car's fault." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, the car loses every time, so it's assumed that the car was at fault." And I'm like, I wouldn't see that. I would be a witness and say that biker was crazy. We saw a woman with 2 little kids. I mean, one was like a 2-year, no, not even a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old in a seat in front of her, and a seat behind her was probably a 3-year-old. No helmets. It was raining, and she's whipping around corners. I'm like, that's how they live. That's every day for them. So they know what they're doing, but it was just funny. That's why all the cars are driving. The Uber drivers are all like inching forward. You know, it was crazy. But yeah, but to see Ireland, we couldn't spend 10, 12 days in Dublin. It's not enough to do, you know. And we pretty much did everything we wanted to do the first day. We saw St. Patrick's Cathedral, which was amazing. Did the audio tour, and that was really amazing too. The audio tours are great, you know, when you do that, and you can learn all the stories and things like that. But this was less a sightseeing tour and more just a let's experience the Irish. And so after the Connemara, after we were in Galway area, and we went into Galway for the day and walked all over. We got 20,000 steps that day, easy. We walked a lot, and that's where there was one guitar store. I went in there, and they sold pipes too. So I bought a pipe, not a guitar. If I'd seen something that I wanted, I would have bought it and shipped it. I wouldn't have carried it with me. But there was a guy there, and we started talking, and he was doing a movie on buskers, and so he wanted to interview me. So we talked a little bit. I don't know if anything I said would get into the movie because. I've never been a busker, so I'm not sure why he would want to interview me. But he asked some good questions. But then we went and stayed at a castle, or a manor home, and it was a big home between 2 lakes, 2 really long lakes. Nothing else out there. It was one of those single-lane roads going to it and from it. It was crazy. But once we were there, I prepaid to have a 5-course meal. It's a gourmet restaurant there. So I prepaid for everything. I forgot I did that, actually. I got there, and I thought we were going to have to buy dinner because there was no place to go to dinner. And I was looking at the menu, and I'm like, oh, and I went to the desk, and they go, oh, no, you already paid for dinner. I did. So I was like, cool. So we went and had this amazing, it was really, really good dinner. And it gave Beth food poisoning. She literally got food poisoning that night, all night. At the castle, and we were staying in we were in a room tiny room, queen bed. The only time we had a queen bed, we had kings everywhere. I mean, I paid extra at every hotel to make sure we had a king bed, free parking, and breakfast everywhere we went. I made sure that was, for me, the priority. I didn't want to be having to figure out parking. I didn't want to have to, I wanted to start the day with a good breakfast. So Bruce is here. Yeah. Yes. A lot of times that's true, Michael. Michael says more expensive guitars tend to increase in value as they and get better with age. I used to say that my guitar collection is doing better than my stock portfolio. Um, and that, I mean, I just was looking up 57 Strats. They're in the hundreds of thousands now. They used to be able to get a 57 Strat for 30, 40,000. Heck, back in the 80s, you can get it for $300 because people were buying them and routing them out and putting Floyd Roses in them and trying to make them into Frankenstrats like Eddie Van Halen. They were a dime a dozen back then. That's part of the reason why the untouched ones are so valuable, because everybody was bastardizing them. And you didn't think anything about it. It was like in 1982, a 62 was just a 20-year-old guitar, and there were a million of them. It wasn't like 59 Les Pauls where there were a finite number, but even those were not that expensive back in the early 80s. I wonder if you could find some price charts or something showing that. But yeah, I mean, I almost bought, I think it was $2,500. I almost bought a refin. It was like an early 60s, maybe a 60, maybe 63, a refin, and it was $2,500. So refinish means it's got a paint job. I had a paint job, and it had like a Vargas girl on it, that I would have just taken off or repainted or something. But because I couldn't have played that at church. And it was a great guitar, and I played it every time I went to that shop. It was sitting there for a couple months. It actually belonged to one of the guys that worked there, and I was this close to buying it, and I didn't. I wish I had. I'm fine with a refin. I don't need all original, so to get a 70% discount on a vintage Strat because somebody painted it or changed the tuners or something. I don't care about that. The pickups are the key, or the neck of the body, but it doesn't. The paint job doesn't matter. But I'm never gonna. Did you modulate King of the Road? Oh. Oh, fun. Heart of Gold. Yeah. King of the Road. I missed the joke there. Let's see. Any other questions? I'm sorry, I don't want to miss it. And then after that, the last night we were in Dublin again, and Beth was kind of laying low. She went to bed early because that night before she hadn't gotten much sleep. And it's funny because I went to the desk at the hotel, the castle, whatever, and I let them know quietly that Beth got food poisoning, and I said, but I'm not. I don't want a discount. I don't want money back. I'm not going to go on social media. Of course, what am I doing right now? But I wasn't going to tell anyone. Basically, I'm not going to do a Yelp review or anything like that. I said things happen, and yeah, guitars do sound if they're played, especially. I think they sound better. Acoustics in particular. Electrics, I don't know. Probably having all my guitars hanging up there, getting all that sound resonating on them is probably not a bad thing. I think that's part of the reason the wood sounds better, because it's had music going through it. Anyway, so she said, well, go get your breakfast, and I'll have the restaurant manager come talk to you. And I went, well, it's okay. It's not a big deal. And she said, no, I insist. So I went there, sitting there, and the restaurant manager came up to me. And I was the only one in there. I was early to breakfast. And I was the only one in there. And she said, oh, it's not possible. Not possible she got food poisoning. I'm like, well, I said, yeah. She didn't eat that day. We'd been eating so much. Beth was like, I don't want to gain weight on this trip. So she'd eaten she'd had for lunch, like at noon, she'd had not a power bar, but a protein bar. And that was it. And we went, the dinner was at 7, and the first course came out around 7:30, or not first, probably second course came out, and it was a 2 hour meal. It was phenomenal. It was really good. I had steak. Yeah, it was a very good meal. Irish, beef, big on that. And she got the pork. But I said, yeah. She goes, well, when she gets sick, I said, right around 3 o'clock. She got up, 3:30, because she goes, oh, it takes about 8 hours. There's no way. I said, well, we started dinner at 7, and she was throwing up at 3:30, and she goes, oh well, it could have been listeria. There's a listeria thing going around. I go, yeah, listeria is from food. It's not like something you can catch, and so if that's the case, we got it here, or she got it here, and so I said, I'm not telling anyone. We're talking very quietly, and she kind of had to ultimately admit, maybe, that, okay, well, let me know if there's anything you can do. And she goes, we haven't heard it from anyone else yet. And it's probably one of those things where, because chicken was on the menu too, and they used a knife that they just used on chicken, and they used it on her pork or something to cut it up on her plate, because the pork was pre-cut on her plate, and when it came out, it was cut, because they make a big display about it and everything. So the tap water there was fine. I was drinking it the whole time. We had no problem in Ireland, and I was never told. Not to do that. I've never been to Mexico, although I have a friend that's threatening to take us to his house in Cabo. And so I know not to drink the water there. They have a lot of bottled water. I think they have purifiers everywhere. So we may do that. I don't know. Are you watching? It's Brad. Brad threatened to take us to Cabo. So Brad is often here. So, and I think we've talked about the water thing before. I think he's told me this, how it works. Like, one of the things you have to be careful is if you're taking a shower, don't drink the shower water. Don't brush your teeth with, you use bottled water, brush your teeth, all that stuff. So, I would think coffee made with water would be fine because it's basically boiled, is it not? Does it get hot enough? Oh, did you get food poisoning? Yeah, and that's the thing. I've been drinking a lot more water. You guys have been with me on this journey. So, but I didn't bring my big water bottle. I wasn't tracking how much I was drinking like I am when I'm home. But whatchamacallit, what's the, in Ireland, yeah, I wasn't really tracking how much I was drinking. Sorry, I'm getting texts. I have to work. I have to go to work. Dang it! We'll hang with you guys a lot longer. Hey, AJ, what's going on? Good to see you. Yeah, so dehydration is a real danger when you're no. Oh shoot. Am I going to get in trouble for playing that? That's actually my song. I uploaded it to CD Baby, so it's on Spotify. It's called, if you look up my name, and it's called Emma Louise. And I wrote it for my daughter. And I'm probably getting copyright. I'll have to share my royalties with myself. Yeah, this would be nice. I have tuned this. It's not a bad little strummer too. I get out my stupid blue $35 blue chip pick. I don't know. So let's see. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah. So like I said, work has been crazy. I'm working on. I mean, I've literally gotten 2 emails and a text and a phone call since I sat down. I I think I've finished downloading a session I've got to work on. I'm working on Vision Quest. If you watched WandaVision, and then I forget what the second installment was. I'm working on the third one, quite a bit, for my composer friend in London. And then let's see what else. Working on Apex Legends. Working on Call of Duty. Working on Voltron, the movie Voltron, working on some other game that the new composer that I've worked for a couple times. He just sent me a bunch of stuff. That's why I have these guitars out, because it's kind of a Western vibe. And so I was giving him 2 guitar choices rather than just one, and then the 12 string, which just sounds freaking perfect for that kind of Western vibe, especially in drop D. I was also doing some slide, some dobro. And that's what I was doing when I lost track of time and Bruce texted me, are you doing your live stream today? I was like, oh shoot. And I looked at the clock, it was 9:04. I'm like, oh man. I didn't want to set an alarm because I'm recording acoustics. And when you're recording acoustics, it's like you don't want to have that perfect take. In fact, this particular session, I'm noticing that he's taking his samples, like the sample guitars that he's sending me, like replace these. He's letting them ring out really long. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So like 16 beats of ring out on these things, and I'm letting him do that. He'll fade them out when he needs to fade them out. But then if I move, if I squeak the chair, if a dog barks outside, then it can be a little bit of a problem. So yeah, it is nice strumming, huh? Okay, KT's great. Yeah, I've seen Melissa live too. Undergo. Oh, the whole group. That's so funny. Nice. Oh, you got in for free. That works out. Our cat's still alive. She didn't die when we were gone. We were glad. We had a cat die. One of our cats disappeared, and then showed up and had a stroke and died while we were in France and with the kids, long time ago. She was old and she was a stray that we'd taken in, and so that was sad. But it was more of a I wrote Yellow Raincoat with Justin, and Justin and I just wrote that together, just the two of us kind of jumping in. We were supposed to be working on something else, and I got that work done. We did. It was the acoustic. Was it the Acoustic Believe record or the acoustic? Yeah, the Acoustic Believe record. And Dan Cantor had done all his guitar player at the time had done all the guitars except one song, and then he got stuck in El Salvador. He's a foodie, and he got food poisoning. I think he was in El Salvador. No, he was in Costa Rica. He got food poisoning in Costa Rica, and he couldn't come back up, and so they called me in, and that was that was providential, I guess. But I hate that Dan's a friend. I hate that he had to get food poisoning. Didn't even really think about it at the time. It was just like I got called in, and we did that track, and the song we did, I can't remember which one it was, but I had my capo on the 3rd fret. So it was already that way, and I started playing the groove to Yellow Raincoat that I'd been sitting on for like 6 months. And it was just me, Justin, and Josh. And they were in the booth, and I was sitting in the big A&M studio. It's Henson now, but it was the big A&M room. If you saw that Biggest Night Pop or something like that on Netflix where did the We Are the World, that room that all takes place, that's where I was sitting when I wrote that song, or when I played it for Justin. And Justin was like, you know the story. He was like, hey Tom, what's that? And I hear Josh go, oh, that's one of Tom's dope jams. Hey Tom, can I write to that? And I was joking with him. I'm like, I don't know, Justin. but because I'm like such an adult, like I was 50, you know, or some 52 or whatever. What year was that? 2011. I would have been 50, and so it was 2 days after Christmas. I remember that, and just as like, really, and I'm like, no, man, right to it. She's like, he didn't expect a 50-year-old guy to joke around like one of his buddies, and so I literally laid that down. That was the first pass, the first take, one take, because I'd been playing it for 6 months. You know, I've been sitting on it. It's it wasn't this guitar. It was my Dove, Gibson Dove, and it was, but. It's a great hook, and it was just kind of fun. I was almost more of a study. I was practicing something and kind of come up with new voicings that I like to use. E minor and C major 7 and D6, and then I went. No, was it? The hard part is keeping that groove going. I mean, I haven't played it in a long time, but so that was when and so we worked on that. You know, like I said, I did it in one take. I was done in one take, and then Josh did a little bit of editing on it, kind of cleaned up something or whatever, and then Justin came into the booth or came into the room where I was, and I came into the booth, and he got there with his phone, and he was sitting down when he was just writing lyrics and singing, you know, literally writing it kind of on the spot. And it took him about 4 hours sitting there, but he wrote it and sang it and doing all the parts. I mean, him and Josh, when Justin's singing, Josh is like, you know, they're like reading each other's minds. So Justin did stacks of vocals and things like that. So it was pretty cool. And then Scooter Braun comes in and is like, what are you working on? I'm like, I thought we were in trouble. And Josh goes, oh, Tom and Justin wrote a new song. And he just, you know, Scooter turns to me and Josh goes, can you finish it tonight? And we're like, sure, it's pretty much done. I mean, once Justin's done, he goes to me, can you put some Eric Clapton licks on it? You know, so that was, you know, I knew what he meant. So it was like, you know, I think I was, you know, doing E minor blues licks over it, and so I did that, and Scooter said, yeah, can you get it done tonight? Sure. He goes, because I want to put it on the record. I go, well, when's the record come out? He goes, day after tomorrow. I was like, no, okay, we'll get it done. So he actually was on the phone to Apple and said, we're gonna add 2 songs to it. We got a couple new songs to add to the record. So they had another one that was ready to go, but they weren't going to add it. And then this song came along, and he's like, let's add this one. And when it came out, people thought it wasn't Justin singing, it was Drake. Because Justin was, normally when you sing, you stand up and get your diaphragm and all that thing. And that's exactly how Justin always sings. He sings stand up, but this one he was singing sitting down. So is that water? I think Beth is water in the garden. But I should probably go because I've got people hitting me up to get some work done. Yeah, we made it in a day. I mean, I kind of, like I said, I was working on it. I mean, I had figured it out and wrote it and then just kind of was sitting on it because the reason I was sitting on it is because I didn't want to share it with just anybody because I thought it was a pretty good hook. I didn't want to just share it with anybody. And Scooter loved it. Justin still loves it. Actually, Justin just posted it like 6 months ago and goes, man, this song still slaps. And I had to repost. I was like, yeah, it's awesome. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, he's working on, you know, he's always working on stuff now. He's back at it, right? And he released a new record. I didn't have anything to do with the new record. People have been asking me, and I said, no, I didn't. He's been writing with buddies, and they're just, you know, kids his age and stuff, and totally get that. I mean, if he asks me, I will. He called me in on the Justice record, and I went in for a couple days on that record, but nothing I wrote got put in the record. So But I did end up working with Skrillex on something because of that, because we were working together. So that was fun. Anyway, good to see everyone again. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Next week, maybe I'll come up with a concept for what to talk about next. If you have some suggestions, Bruce, keep tabs on it. Maybe give me some suggestions about what to teach on. I don't know I just need an idea really for these lessons. If we have a consensus, great. But if not, it doesn't really matter. But I just thought, it would be cool to have. All right. Oh, well, there we go. Okay, these are all. Well, that's a movie. Okay. I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of working. The photos are uploading to Dropbox as I speak. But anyway, I will talk to you later. God bless you all. I'll use, maybe for the background, I'll use one of the Irish photos next week. That would be cool. All right. I'll talk to you all soon. God bless. Bye-bye.